Namaste and a very good morning to you. Welcome to the 8 a.m. brief. Our promise to you is simple. We cut through the noise to bring you the facts behind the headlines that are shaping India. We believe in calm, clear and concise news so you have the space to form your own informed opinions. So, let's get right to it.
Okay, here's a look at what's on our radar today. We're going to start with the big one, the escalating trade tensions between the US and India. Then, we'll shift to some really crucial rulings coming out of our national courts. After that, it's new government policies, a check on our health and environment, and then some much-needed good news with moments of cultural and sporting pride. We'll wrap it all up with a quick look at major world events. It's a lot to cover, so let's dive in.
So we have to start with what is, without a doubt, the most significant story of the day. The economic relationship between India and the United States, well, it's facing a major stress test. And this isn't just one thing. It's a whole series of tariffs, sanctions, and strategic moves that are all coming together to put some serious pressure on New Delhi.
This right here, this single sentence, really gets to the core of what's happening. These aren't just economic decisions about money and goods. Not at all. This is foreign policy in action. You can think of it like levers being pulled to try and influence India's bigger strategic choices on the world stage, especially when it comes to who our allies are.
25%. Let that sink in for a moment. The United States has just slapped a flat 25% tariff on all goods imported from India. Now, the reasons they're giving are twofold. First, they're pointing to India's own high tariffs, and second, our continued economic ties with Russia. The U.S. president then really turned up the heat with a very, let's say, undiplomatic statement, calling the economies of both India and Russia dead. That is incredibly provocative language.
And you know, this move isn't happening in a bubble. Look at this. It's the classic carrot and stick approach. For India, it's the stick, these really punishing tariffs. But at the same time, the U.S. is offering a carrot to Pakistan, a new deal to help them develop their offshore oil reserves. It's a textbook geopolitical play, clearly designed to squeeze India and force a strategic rethink right here in our own neighborhood.
The reaction in the financial markets, it was instant, and it was harsh. The Indian rupee just took a nosedive, hitting a record low against the dollar, closing somewhere between 87.58 and 87.66. Now, it did pull back a tiny bit from its lowest point, but it's pretty widely believed that was only because the Reserve Bank of India had to jump in and start selling dollars to stop a complete freefall. So, let's bring this home. Why should a number like 87.6 matter to you personally? Well, it's simple. A weaker rupee means that everything we buy from other countries gets more expensive. We're talking about the crude oil that becomes our petrol and diesel, the electronics in our phones, even some of the food we eat. This directly pushes up inflation, meaning the money in your pocket just doesn't go as far. It hits everything from your monthly budget to the country's overall economic health.
And the pressure, it's not just coming from that one big tariff. No, this is a multi-front strategy, and it seems to be targeting India's energy security. So on one side, you have our state-owned refiners reportedly hitting pause on buying Russian crude because the discounts are shrinking, and of course, there's U.S. pressure. Then, on another side, the U.S. has hit 6 Indian firms with separate sanctions for trading with Iran. But, and this is a fascinating wrinkle, our private refiners are reportedly still buying Russian oil, so you're seeing this interesting split develop right within our own industry.
Okay, let's shift our focus now from trade to the courts and see how they're shaping some of the biggest conversations in the country. We've got 2 really important cases to talk about. One that's just wrapped up after a 17-year-long journey, and another that's just getting started on a very complex human rights issue.
Can you imagine? A legal saga that has been going on for 17 years has finally come to an end. This case goes all the way back to the Malegaon blasts in 2008. After all these years of investigations and trials, a special NIA court has acquitted all 7 of the accused, including Pragya Thakur. And the reason? The court said there was a lack of reliable evidence from the prosecution. A 17-year process, it really forces you to ask some tough questions about the speed of our justice system and the human cost for the accused, living under that shadow for decades, and for the victims' families, who wait nearly 2 decades for an answer.
Predictably, the moment this verdict came out, it set off a political firestorm. The controversial term saffron terror is right back in the headlines. The BJP is now demanding a full apology from the Congress Party, accusing them of essentially creating that narrative for political gain. Congress, in turn, is firing back with questions about the entire investigation. It's a perfect example of how a courtroom decision is often just the beginning of a much larger, messier political battle.
Now, let's look at a case that's just beginning. The Supreme Court is about to take on a fundamental question of both law and humanity. What is the official legal status of the Rohingya people in India? The court has to decide if they are refugees, which would give them protections under international law, or if they are illegal immigrants, according to our own domestic laws. And this isn't just about words. This distinction is everything. It will determine whether they can legally be deported back to a place where they face persecution. The outcome here will be huge for how India approaches displaced people in the future.
All right, moving from the courts to the government itself, we're going to look at two key policy moves. One is a big forward-looking push in technology, and the other is a pretty significant policy reversal in education at the state level.
This is a major step towards Atmanirbhar Bharat. The government has just given the green light to 23 new projects aimed at building our very own semiconductor industry. The idea is to really encourage homegrown innovation in designing these chips so we can cut down our dependence on foreign tech. You know, in a world where we've all seen how fragile supply chains can be and how chips are becoming tools of geopolitics, building our own capability here isn't just about economics, it's about national security.
Meanwhile, over in Maharashtra, we've seen a major policy U-turn. The state government has decided to withdraw the 10% reservation for the economically weaker section, the EWS quota, in private, unaided medical colleges. This is a big reversal, and it comes after the policy got hit with legal challenges and a lot of pushback from student and parent groups.
But here's the really crucial part, the catch, if you will. The government has put a big condition on this. They're saying the 10% EWS quota will only come back into play in these private colleges if the National Medical Council agrees to increase the total number of medical seats first. The logic seems to be, we'll have the quota, but it has to come from new seats, not from the existing general pool. This pretty much kicks the decision, and all the political heat that comes with it, up to the central level.
Our next section is really a tale of two extremes. It paints a stark picture of the immense pressure on two of our most vital resources, healthcare and water. We'll see the unbelievable strain on our top public hospital, and then look at two totally opposite water situations happening in the country right now.
2 years. Just think about that. That is the current waiting time if you need a planned non-emergency surgery at AIIMS in Delhi, our nation's premier public hospital. The union government itself confirmed this number in the Rajya Sabha. And behind that number are thousands of people, living in pain, their conditions possibly getting worse while they wait. A 2-year wait just lays bare the incredible stress our public healthcare system is under. It's simply overwhelmed. Now, let's talk about water. First, we head to Gujarat, where there's a story of too much water. The monsoon has been so heavy that the Sardar Sarovar Dam is filling up fast, and authorities had to open the gates for the first time this season, just to manage the levels. It's always a tricky balance, right? You have to release enough to keep the dam safe and prevent floods, but you also want to save as much as you can for the dry months.
And then you have the complete opposite happening in Mumbai. In total contrast to Gujarat, Mumbai just went through its driest July in nearly a whole decade. So in the middle of the monsoon, there's a serious rainfall deficit. This is raising huge concerns about water security for millions of people, because the lakes that supply India's financial hub are getting low. Seeing these two things happen at the same time, one place with too much water, one with too little, it just shows you the incredibly complex water challenge we face as a nation.
Okay, after some pretty heavy news, let's change the mood a bit and talk about a couple of stories that are bringing a real sense of national pride. One from our ancient past, and another from the world of sports today.
This is a truly amazing story, and it's been 127 years in the making. Sacred relics of the Lord Buddha, which were dug up at Piprawa way back in 1898 and then taken out of India during the colonial period, are finally back home. There was this collaborative effort between the government and Godrich Industries to stop them from being auctioned off in Hong Kong, and it worked.
This is a huge moment for our culture and our history. It's about reclaiming a piece of our heritage that was lost.
And from ancient glory to modern-day glory. In the world of cricket, Abhishek Sharma has done something incredible. He has climbed all the way to the top of the ICC T20 rankings. He is now the #1 batsman in the world. And just to give you some context on how huge that is, he's only the 3rd Indian male cricketer ever to hit that top spot in T20s, putting him in the same company as Virat Kohli and Suryakumar Yadav. Just a massive moment for him and for cricket fans everywhere.
For our last section today, we're going to zoom out and take a quick look at a couple of major stories making headlines around the globe. One from Eastern Europe and one from North America. In Ukraine, the capital city of Kyiv has been hit by a really devastating overnight attack. A barrage of Russian missiles and drones killed at least 13 people, and that includes a child. More than 130 people were injured and over 100 buildings were damaged. And we're talking about apartment buildings, schools, and hospitals. It's a tragic reminder of the terrible human cost of this conflict, especially when civilian areas are targeted far from any front line. And this last story is a fascinating look at that blurry line where trade and diplomacy collide. The U.S. president very clearly linked a future trade deal with Canada to their foreign policy. He said that Canada's plan to recognize a Palestinian state would make a deal very hard to get done. But then his own administration seemed to walk it back, saying it was not a deal breaker. This kind of back and forth creates a lot of confusion, and it really shows you how trade can be used as this powerful, sometimes inconsistent tool of diplomacy, even between the closest of allies.
And that's our brief for today. We sincerely hope that by bringing you just the facts, we're helping you make a little more sense of the world. If you find what we do valuable, the best way to support us is to share this with your friends and family. And of course, follow us on Spotify and YouTube to listen to this podcast every morning at 8 a.m.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Our mission here is to foster thinkers, not followers, by arming you with clear information so you can draw your own conclusions. We'll be back tomorrow at 8 a.m. Until then, keep smiling and stay curious. Namaskar.